Hello and welcome to Joy in Our Town. I'm your host, Vanessa Rose. So happy that you decided to join us today. We have a really great informative show for you today. Today we're speaking about crime, and that's something, the topics we're going to be discussing today really affect each and every one of us. So please stay tuned. If you have a family member, if you have a friend, please tell them to tune in, because we're going to share some really great information that can really help you and your family members and your friends stay safe in this world. And we're so honored to be joined by Vickie Owen. She is the president of Arizona Crime Prevention Association and a crime prevention specialist for the Gilbert Police Department. Thank you so much for joining us, Vickie.
Thanks for having me.
So happy. I know that you have a lot going on right now and a very busy schedule, and so thank you so much for taking time to come and be here and share with our viewing audience. I know that they're going to really enjoy the topics we're going to discuss. But before we get started, if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about yourself and your background.
Sure. Actually, I work for Gilbert Police Department. I've been there for 11 years in the crime prevention unit. There are actually 3 of us in that unit. We go around, we're kind of known as the warm and fuzzy cops. We go around and do the community education and partnerships with businesses and any outreach programs. We apply for grants, get specialty programs in, that sort of thing. Besides that, I actually am a foster. I know we talked about animal fostering. I do that as well on the side and have several pets at home. On the more professional side, I've been the president for the Arizona Crime Prevention Association for the last 6 years, and really excited about being a part of that group. We are more of an outreach for the entire state, and I get to work with specific folks from agencies throughout the state of Arizona. So, you know, we get to do community education throughout the state in different cities, and it's a great way to outreach into the community.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you. It sounds like you do a lot of giving back to your community, being a police officer and fostering parents. So thank you for your service and for taking time to be here. Actually, today, our first subject, we're speaking about crime, and we're going to be speaking about staying safe in a high-tech world. This is something that truly affects each and every one of us. I don't think I know many people. I know there's still a few that don't have a computer or don't have a cell phone, but it's something that really affects us in our everyday lives. And before we get started on this topic, we have a short little video clipping to kind of give you a really great visual of what we're going to be talking about. So please enjoy the short video.
If you wouldn't post it for the world to see, don't post it online. A message from the Arizona Crime Prevention Association.
This just in, Felix is going out to dinner tonight. Chimichangas.
Wow, there we are. Well, that was great. Thank you. You had sent that over to me. I think that was a great visual, just to kind of show that with social media now, it's something that everyone does at every age group. My mom has social media. She posts things on there. And we have a tendency to post information online that people don't need to know. I think that we sometimes cross over our own boundaries and don't really consider the repercussions of the fact that the internet is the World Wide Web. Everybody has access. Whatever you put online, whatever you put on Facebook, on Twitter, the whole world can see it. Privacy settings, only minimal for people that don't really want to know. If somebody wants to know, they're going to know. So what are the risks? I know that there are risks. What are the risks using the internet and social media? I know there's a lot of good in it, but what are the risks that we should be aware of?
Well, when I talk about the internet, I always talk about the risk that we have on the information we put out there, and then you have the criminals that are trying to get into our lives as well, you know, through the phishing scams and so forth. So it's really 2 separate issues. More in line with social media, a lot of folks don't, and you talked about privacy settings, a lot of folks don't understand privacy settings. So it's really important to make sure that when you're setting up your Facebook, which is highly used now in the computer world, making certain that you're checking all of those privacy settings to make sure they're set at friends only. A lot of them have what's called metadata attached to photographs, so it tells exactly where you're at when you take a particular photograph. It's important that you check your privacy settings to disengage certain things as well, like that, for instance, because you don't want, especially criminals, they're looking for folks who are on vacation. That's the perfect
Mobile
opportunity.
uploads, it says I'm in Hawaii on the
Exactly.
beach. You're far away from home.
Right. It used to be that folks would be in a grocery store line and you'd hear them talking about, I'm going camping this weekend. It wouldn't take much for a criminal that's just, behind them in line at the grocery store to just follow them home and know that they're going to be gone during the weekend. So that's kind of taken the place of this. And it's much more difficult for police to catch criminals that are working online. It takes a lot more of the computer intelligence folks, and we have a lot more of it going on than some of the other crimes in the past. So right now, everyone, either directly or indirectly in our country, is somehow touched by identity theft, and of course those are the things that you have go on. They're always trying to go for identification information, financial information is their main goal. So you want to try to protect your online identity and also your reputation as well.
And keeping in mind with privacy settings, as we're working with crime specialists and seeing privacy settings don't mean everything. If somebody wants to get past that, there's people that can easily break those barriers, correct? So that's something to keep in mind, that if you are posting things, you think only your friends can see it, if people want it, they're going to find it.
Right. And what they have now is actually called like jacking. I don't know if you've heard of that yet, but it's when people who are using Facebook get a statement, an advertisement that says, will you like this page? Someone else has recommended that you will like this. When you hit like, then it basically hijacks your Facebook page to put that on there to catch information from you as well. So you always want to be careful as to what you're liking as far as and using of applications too, your mobile phone applications, because you are then connecting your information in other ways.
So how do you protect your identity online? And actually, probably before we even get to that, passwords. That's something that now a lot of online things have made me reset my passwords every certain amount of time. They say, something's strong versus not strong. How do you create good, strong passwords to protect? Because we do online banking, we do bill pay online now. It's not just about social things. How do you create one, and how important is that to do?
Yeah, and first we'll talk about the passwords, and then we'll talk about the threat of online banking, what you really need to do to protect yourself there. With passwords, and I think we're all overwhelmed by passwords for sure. Everything that we go on needs a password. I tell folks it's good to have between 6 to 10 passwords that you use. Keep your financial passwords completely separated from your regular social networking passwords, those types of things that have no financial gain attached to them, and rotate those. But the passwords, I tell folks, make sure 8 to 10 characters, small, capital letters and small letters, numbers as well, and symbols. A lot of folks use phrasing, basically making something short but having it mean something to them. And you also get a lot of, even with the password information, you get the security questions. With the security questions, you don't necessarily have to answer them as it would be true and correct. Make up something that you could use, like sometimes use chocolate for what is your birthday, or that sort
Something
of thing.
that people wouldn't know.
Right. So on the other side, you're not giving that information as well.
As far as the banking go, you were going to share what the risks are of doing online banking.
Yeah. And when I talked about predators coming into you and you being available to them as two separate things, with online banking, and it's interesting to me because I see banking commercials where people are sitting on the sofa doing their banking on their laptop or on your mobile phone. Just always be aware that when you are doing something wireless, whether it's on a wireless keyboard, whether you're printing something on a wireless printer, whether you're talking on a wireless phone, all of that information is in the air and available for the taking. So when you're doing wireless banking, I tell folks try to do it on a computer that's actually hardlined in. Or if you're doing wireless banking, do it on make sure you're doing it at home on your own router, make sure that your router has a password as well. So those are really important.
Do firewalls help, or is that something to be aware of?
Firewalls, encryption, and of course pop-up blockers help too for predators that are trying to get in at you. But people too, when they go to hotel rooms, when they're traveling, they sometimes get on the...
Even on airplanes now, they have wireless internet.
Exactly. Be leery of that.
Yeah.
Because again, you are allowing that information, especially financial information, be out there. And you don't know if the wireless, Wi-Fi connect or what have you, actually has the protection that you need to keep your information protected.
And one thing that I know that I've done, and I know some people that do it, is it a good idea to have, if you're going to use a credit card online, we're going to speak about another way that credit card numbers are stolen, but to maybe have a separate bank account or a separate thing just with enough money for that, so if it ever does get stolen, you don't run the risk of losing a lot of money.
Absolutely. I tell folks, have one credit card specifically that you do your online purchasing with, have it at a low balance, very low balance. So if it should be taken, they're not hurting, they're not damaging you so much that it's a big issue. So one credit card on the side. Plus, with one credit card, you're more apt to see if there's charges on it that aren't charges that you made. So you can look at it and review it better. Because there are times when small charges will show up and they actually test the system that way. Criminals will test the system that way by making a small charge to 1 million people to see how many they can get away with. Because if you're thinking, there's several federal cases that they charge 99 cents, and when you go to 1 million people, that's $1 million. So just think of that. Do a lot of people make the effort, take the time and effort to go through that bill and to make sure that they're resolving small issues like that? Very important.
And that's important for people to know, because a lot of people don't have checkbooks that they keep balances in anymore, and so they don't check. I'm crazy. I do that. I'll call my bank. I'm like, I did not make this 99. I've done that before, and I've had my credit card number stolen, and I've caught it where they didn't, and I've also had my bank catch it. Is one thing that's really interesting that we're going to do. We're going to show in a close-up of this, but RFID chips. What is that, and how do you know if your credit card has one?
Well, RFID chips were actually originally used in manufacturing for products and so forth, and now they're starting to become more of an identification tool in new passports. If anybody has gotten their passport new in the last few years, you'll notice in the back, actually it's very interesting because when you look at it, it looks very futuristic.
Yeah.
The back of a passport has like satellites, and you can actually feel in there is an RFID chip. The same thing
now.
now.
Interesting. So they're in passports as well.
They are.
Wow.
They are the same thing that are occurring on credit cards. Now there are 50 million, actually more than 50 million credit cards with RFID chips in them out there in circulation from various banks. But that symbol, you want to look for that on the back of your credit card. That actually means that that RFID chip sends out a signal. If there's a reader within a certain distance, it will send the signal out. So virtually, you do not have to have that credit card placed in the machine. It will capture that information from a distance.
And that's considered a form of convenience, because you can take your credit card now in grocery stores.
Absolutely.
A lot of them have it. I'm sure you've seen it, where you can just, like, instead of swiping, I don't know why, I guess we're trying to get extra simple now. You still have to have your card, but you just take it and just kind of swipe it across it. So it's in the name of convenience.
Yeah.
But criminals have taken advantage of that.
Absolutely.
So you can, so please, if you're at home, that's something I didn't even know that. I just learned that today. My bank card does have it, so I'm going to be calling my bank today.
Yes.
Look for that little symbol that looks like it's like a noise wave coming out, and you can call your bank and request to get one without it.
Exactly. Take the card in and get it replaced with something else. Make sure the card is shredded, because of course there's a chip in there. So even if you're bringing it somewhere and leaving it, it still can be transmitting. So, but there is also another thing that you can use for cards like that. It's called a Faraday cage. Have you ever heard of something like that?
It's a wallet, is it, that blocks? I was actually going to ask you, those actually work?
They do. They're a particular kind of metal that stop it from transmitting. So they have, and actually on a passport, the blue cover has that particular metal inside of it. But you want to make sure that your passport is completely closed, otherwise it can transmit and it can almost be like a satellite dish, but you want to make sure that it's closed up, and if you have a transmittable card, that you're using that Faraday cage or that wallet with that protection.
Wonderful. Well, Vicki, I wish there's even more things I wanted to cover in this topic, but you're so knowledgeable. Thank you so much for sharing this first part of Joy in Our Town with us.
Absolutely.
For all of you watching at home, if you have any questions, I know that Vicki or someone from the office would be happy to help you. It's Vicki Owen, and she is the president of Arizona Crime Prevention. Association and the crime prevention specialist for Gilbert Police Department. Her phone number is 480-635-7521. The email is vickie.owen@gilbertaz.gov, and the website is www.acpa.net. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be right back after this brief message.
But why should I get tested for colon cancer? I don't have any symptoms.
Colorectal cancer is the second leading cancer killer in the U.S., and it doesn't always cause symptoms.
But I'm only 53, I'm too young.
Screening should begin at 50.
But that test.
There are several kinds of screening tests for colorectal cancer. Ask your doctor which is right for you.
I've been screened, and it turned out I had polyps. And the doctor removed them before they had a chance to turn into cancer.
If you're 50 or older, get screened.
Welcome back to Joy in Our Town. I'm your host, Vanessa Rose. So happy you decided to stay with us. If you just happen to be tuning in, we are speaking about crime today. We're very honored to have Vickie Owen. She's the president of Arizona Crime Prevention Association and the crime prevention specialist for Gilbert Police Department. That's a tongue twister. Yes. I think I said all that right. Thank you so much, Vickie, for staying with us.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you being here. We just had a really informative segment on crime, speaking about high tech and how the internet, there's a lot of positives to it, but there is also a lot of danger that is associated with it. Now we're speaking about something that is substantial. This isn't information that's out there, it's property crime in Arizona. And we were speaking briefly in the green room before we came in here, and you were mentioning a statistic that had to do with property crime here, and what was that?
When you talk about property crime in the state of Arizona, actually it's around 90% of our crime is property crime, and 10% violent crime, which is good and bad. When I talk to the community, I really like to press upon them some of the things as far as property crime is concerned, because those more than likely they're going to become a victim of.
Wow, so it's only 10% is violent crime and the rest is that is an outstanding number that I don't think we realize. So what constitutes property crime? What is that?
Well, property crime is made up of things such as residential burglary, vehicle theft, theft from vehicle, which are a lot of what I like to talk about as far as property crime is concerned. Residential burglary is one that a lot of people become a victim of. And it's interesting because folks spend a lot of time trying to make it more difficult for the property criminal to get in, but they need to understand the mindset of a property criminal. They're going to come when you're not home. And there are certain ways to get into a home that are quite easy that people need to realize. One that I always talk to folks about is checking their windows. A lot of folks have the windows that slide left to right. You know, they have the locks in the center. That lock stops the window from going left to right, but it does not stop the window from doing something called lift. And lift is, if you've ever tried to clean your windows, it's easy to lift them out.
Yeah.
It's very easy. But that's actually, they cut the screen, they stick a screwdriver in, and you can lift the window out a lot of times. That's a big problem. And that's a lot of times how a property criminal gets in. But with property criminals as well, I said that they're going to come when you're not home. So a lot of what we need to do is make it seem like we're home even when we're not. One of those things that we can do is leave a transistor radio on, maybe turn it up to a talk show, put it by the door, turn it up. Make sure there's no windows around the door as well that are, you know, showing so that they can look inside.
There's no one home.
Because more than likely they're going to knock on the door or they're going to ring the bell first to make sure. Sometimes you've heard people that have gotten broke into and they were home is because they did not answer the door. And I don't mean open the door and talk.
Of course not.
I mean just respond to the door. Make sure that whomever is at the door knows that you are home, because sometimes criminals will come around to the back and try to get in that way if they think that you are not home. So if you're not responding to the door, it's really important that you do at least respond to the door.
If you do happen to be home and someone breaks into your house, so people are aware and are prepared what to do, God forbid that ever happens, but if it does, what should you do as a citizen to protect yourself?
Immediately. Call the police immediately. Let it be known that you're home. Put yourself in a room. Lock yourself in a room. A lot of times these property criminals, like I said, they want to take the property. They don't want people around them. They want to do it as quickly as possible. They know their time frame. So you want to make sure that they know that someone is home at that time. A lot of times they'll run and leave and it's just a scary situation. But kind of going back as well to making it more difficult for them to get in. and I'm going to go back to the window because I'm sorry, I did not say how to remedy.
How do you fix that?
How do you remedy that window situation? Actually, at the very top of the window is a track, and there's room inside of that track. That's why that window is able to be lifted out.
Okay.
You want to get rid of that room at the top of the track. You take 2 panhead screws. You can get them at the hardware store. They cost pennies. 2 panhead screws. You right in the top of that track. You drill that panhead screw up into the center after you open the window. Drill it into the top of that track, and then bring that screw head back down a little bit.
Just enough so it can't be lifted up.
Right, close the window, check it, make sure it doesn't lift out of the track anymore. So for just a few pennies, you're helping
protect your home and protect your items
Absolutely.
and a lot of valuable things. One thing that if people own firearms, what is the best way to protect those? Because I know that's something that's probably an item that people would want to steal. They're worth value if they want to use. How can people protect themselves if they have firearms?
You know, everyone has they all have a different opinion as to what they, and again, everyone has the right to have a gun, and everyone has different opinions as to what to do with a gun while at home, because there's the whole sense of, well, if my gun's not available, how do I not use it? Of course, if you have kids, I always tell folks, make sure it's secured in any way possible, even if the child gets a hold of it, because there are cases where the child is able to get a hold of the gun, and issues where they fired it and hurt themselves or their friends. And so everyone has to make that own decision, but safes as well are a good thing. And you had mentioned when they come in, you know, when they put something in a safe, isn't that something they are going to go for that?
Yeah.
With safes, I tell folks to make sure if you have a good safe that you anchor it
to the ground.
Exactly.
So they can't pick up and walk out with it.
Because
Jewelry,
of course,
something like that.
that's going to be the first thing that they're going to go for, because they know valuables are in there. So make sure you anchor it to the cement, to the concrete, and also if you're putting it in a closet, to the studs in your wall. Keep it in place.
As far as a car, you mentioned that as a property. What is something we were even speaking about earlier in gyms? That's a really big time. What can you do to protect yourself if someone does break into your car, to make your car less enticing for someone to break into?
Well, first of all, especially when we go to gym, we know that when we're in there, we have our gym clothes, we're not going to carry our purse with us. So some folks leave those valuables in their car. I tell folks, don't do that. Bring it into the gym, put it in the locker. That's what they're there for. Lock your locker, take your key. But again, the car, if they see valuables, a lot of times they believe that valuables might be in there. Don't leave them in plain view. Lock your doors. Even use a steering wheel club. You've probably seen those. Agencies periodically give those away, steering wheel locks. That serves as a visual deterrent so someone won't steal your car, because sometimes the chances are when they get into your car, they might be able to steal your car as well. So it's kind of a twofold situation there.
So just being very aware, does tinting your windows help, or does that not really play a factor? And if they can see inside?
Tinted windows are helpful, but again, don't ever leave valuables, inside,
in there.
Period.
So the trunk is in a good place then, because they can still get in there.
They can still get in the trunk, and more than likely they realize at a gym that things might be in the trunk. So, and a lot of vehicles have where you can just pop the trunk from inside. So you're also, you want to make sure you're taking your valuables with you.
So it's going to the next step, thinking like a criminal.
Absolutely.
What are they going to do? Because this is what they do. So they're not going to let something simple stop them.
Exactly. Put yourself in that criminal's place. Even when we talked about residential burglary, stand at your curb. How does your house look to a criminal? Are your bushes overgrown? Can he hide behind the bush and work on a window? Trim your bushes, really simple, simple. Keep a bush size.
Yeah.
Let it trim a tree up. We have a 3-7 rule. 3 foot and lower is a bush, 7 foot trim is a tree.
Is a tree. And so if people are going out of town, if someone, if holidays are here, the summer's here, someone leaves for a certain amount of time, what should they do to protect their home if they're going to be gone for extended amount of time?
A few things. Make sure that if you don't stop your mail, or mail and newspaper, that you get with a trusted neighbor or a friend that can come over and take care of that daily. Another thing that a lot of people don't realize is their garage doors are very vulnerable. There's decoders that can open them. We also have criminals that can use a pry bar on the top, and they reach in with a coat hanger to pull that cord that hangs down right there, and that, of course, it allows the door to open. unplug that garage door device. And I tell folks, take a padlock and put it right in the track. There's little squares that are open on the track of the garage door. Put a padlock on that as well. So, but make sure you unplug your electronic device too.